again, in order to really study and take a close look at the divine feminine element, again, which is primary in our understanding of anything that is cosmic or spiritual or energetic, we have to take a look at the Kabbalistic tree of life. And usually the Kabbalistic tree of life is represented as we see a normal tree, the roots below and the branches, the roots below, which is below the soil, or as we're going to understand, in the soul. The roots below are representing the soul, and the trunk, the branches, the leaves, and the fruit all being above ground and visible. Now, from a symbolic standpoint, our knowledge of Jesus Christ, that is the knowledge that is most accessible to everyone, that is most visible, especially in Western religions and Western belief systems. Again, the dominance of the male and patriarchal system. That is the most accessible, low-hanging fruit. However, the divine feminine, again, which precedes all things, would be what? The roots. So we have to, in order to do this, we have to flip this upside down. We're going to find out that the feminine aspect has been not only hidden, but it has been vilified. Everything evil, everything vile, everything which is taboo is everything feminine. Everything that was vilified in most of the major belief systems, especially patriarchal, the feminine aspect has been hidden below ground and vilified as dark, as destructive, as everything taboo, as demonic. So again, the usual representation of the Kabbalistic tree of life. The feminine aspect is the one that is never talked about or seldom talked about, and that is hidden and most unknown. However, from an eschatological standpoint, we are in the very end times, the very end of one world or age and the start of a new one. And the scripture uses the term, the tail will have to become the head. What was below must turn. And we are in the last stages of a cycle of turning. And so things will have to be reversed, especially in our perception. And this is going to be the key to accessing our power. You have to know where this power originates from and how to access it and know what you are accessing. So we're going to begin the lesson here. Also, I got to give you the term that we're going to be using. The roots of the tree, of the Kabbalistic tree of life, are called the Qlippoth. Qlippoth, all right? Or Qlippoth. Qlippoth or Qlippoth. And it's spelled like this: Qlippoth. So we're going to be talking during this session, and this is our 6th week and 6th session, the Qlippoth and the invincible power of the divine feminine. The Qlippoth and the invincible power of the divine feminine. This is going to give us the fundamentals, again, of acknowledging, awakening, and applying the divine black magical powers of the adverse tree. Acknowledging, awakening, and applying the divine black magical powers of the adverse tree. And the Qlippoth is called the adverse tree primarily because it is adverse to what it is that we're usually that we have been programmed and trained to understand as spiritual and as acceptable in spiritual realms. The one question we're going to answer by way of reminder, we talked about the hybrid, non-melanated Afro-European populations and how we emanated and they were created. So we want to understand, keep in the forefront of our minds, how these individuals supplanted the original melanated populations. Well, to answer that, we're going to go to Mark 3:27. And it says, "No one can enter a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house." Well, we showed in great detail how the divine feminine, again, voluntarily bent the knee, voluntarily subjected herself to the slavery process. In other words, relinquished this unspeakable power that is resonant within the divine melanated feminine populations and voluntarily emanated into that process of slavery first, primarily. And both the male and female being what? Stripped of that power or bound, went through this voluntary, real-time alchemical ritual. We must understand this. When you look at the book of Judges and the story of Samson, this is again an allegory of how the secret of our power was voluntarily given up. We're all familiar with the story of Samson and Delilah, but we're going to read these 5 verses real quickly to refresh ourselves. Judges 16:4-9, and it came to pass afterwards that he, being Samson or Shimshon, as it is in the Hebrew, loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, Entice him, and see wherein his strength lieth, and by that and by what means we may prevail against him. Now, look at the above verse. No man can enter a strong man's house and spoils his goods, except he will first bind the strong man. Then he will spoil his house. So the Philistines come to Samson's woman and says, Entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth. So again, the key to the strength that is inherent in melanin, this unspeakable, immeasurable strength, is accessed through what element? The feminine. The feminine. Delilah being the symbol of that within this allegory. Now, we're going to see this much clearly as we get into the more ancient representations of the divine feminine, on which these later stories in the Bible are based. Entice him and see wherein lies his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him. In other words, spoil his house, that we may bind him, bind the strong man first, to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, here's the first time, and we're going to know that he volunteers to be bound. And Delilah said to Samson, Tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound. And listen what she says, to afflict thee. So he wasn't that stupid. He knew that she wanted the key to his great strength so that he could be what? Bound and afflicted. And Samson said unto her, If they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then I shall be weak and be as any other man. Then the lords of the Philistine brought up to her 7 green withs, which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the withs as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth fire. So his strength was not known. She did this, people, 2 more times. So the giving up of the key to his strength was voluntary. Just like when we went through the 400 years of affliction and adversity, it was voluntary. And again, we won't go back into that. Go back over your lessons that we did prior to this, and we laid that out pretty thoroughly. So again, fast forwarding to the Willie Lynch letter, nature had provided for this type of balance. We reversed nature. Again, we were made adverse to ourselves. We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. So again, the feminine energy is the focus. The feminine aspect is the focus, to relinquishing us of our strength, making us powerless. But again, nothing was done to us. We volunteered with knowledge of forethought for this. I'm talking about our ancestors. And this curative, corrective, healing, alchemical process extends to us through DNA, through ancestry, and through genetics. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychologically dependent state to a frozen, independent state. In this frozen, psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically dependent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. So this reversal took place. And it was a complete reversal. And it was designed to go on indefinitely. But there was a plan in place that overrides this process. Again, we have to know that the secret to our strength, how did this hillbilly, this dirt farmer, have insight into, and I'm talking about Willie Lynch, have insight into the deep psychological recesses of our ancestors? Is because the knowledge was given to them. And if you read the letter, he talks about their advisors or the individuals that these are ignorant dirt farmers, most of them barely literate, but given this high science to perform. We know that they didn't do this on our own. Just like Delilah got the secret of Samson's strength, the secret of our strength was volunteered by our ancestors. And so we subjected ourselves to what? A voluntary ritual, corrective ritual. And we're going to get into that in more detail. How many people saw Black Panther this weekend? Anyone? Anyway, I want to show you something. If you saw the movie, you saw this science. You got a glimpse of this science when you looked at the brother, and I forget what his name is in the movie, but he's the actor Michael S. Jordan. Do you see the scarification on his body? This was the brother from America, and he represents us, still showing what the ancestors went through in the voluntary scarification process, scarification and branding. And in the storyline, it is a perfect representation of the conscious individuals that are alive now, that spiritually have the scarification, the evidence of the real-time ritual of scarification and branding that our forefathers went through 400 years ago. And if you listen to the dialogue, listen to this brother talk, his name is Killmonger. That's the character, Killmonger. And I haven't seen the movie yet, but I did hear a individual decode the movie. I'm going to be decoding it after I see it tomorrow as well, and we'll be incorporating this into the lesson. But again, the result of this ritual, real-time corrective ritual that our divine forefathers went through 400 years ago. And it's surprising. It's not really surprising because I think, again, these people know what time it is now. So we see this showing up in this movie. Very powerful movie. And like I said, we'll be decoding this in detail once I see it, and very soon. So again, this process had to take place through the divine feminine. So we're going to set right now the eschatological or the prophetic end time framework for this, taking a look at Daniel 12, 6 and 7. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for time, times, and half, and a half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. So this power of the holy people, and that is us, was scattered 400 years ago. So that puts us prophetically right at the end. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together. That word struggle together does not mean that she was having in the allegory some mild birth pains. The word struggle together is the word ratsats, and it means that they were trying to crush, bruise, and grievously oppress one another within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger, prove superior to, that means genetically, than the other people. And the elder shall serve the younger. What we must understand again, and we stated it before, that the root cause of antipathy, of hatred, of violence, of racial discord, of controversy between us and this Caucasoid is contained within this verse. It is their fear of genetic inferiority. The root of racism and white supremacy is the fear of not just genetic superiority, but of genetic annihilation. And we're going to give the statistics, and we've given them before, but we're going to highlight them in the next class, of the fact that the European is dying. They are dying out. And this is the cause for the fear that is rampant in America now, why they want to, put the Hispanics out. They really would rather have the blacks go to Africa because they understand that in a relatively short period of time, in less than a generation, America will be mostly Hispanic, mostly Asian, and mostly black. They know this. So this power that they know, and I'm not talking about the majority of Europeans, they don't know anything. They know, quite frankly, less than the majority of us know about the true nature of our existence. But the ones that need to know, these experts that Willie Lynch talked about, they know that the key to our power is the divine feminine. You go back 400 years ago, again, they were the focus, as is represented in our female population of melanated people. And this power, this unspeakable, immeasurable power, was represented in our ancient symbols. We looked at this word Qlippoth, all right? We're going to concentrate as we trace this through history on these four words and the sound Qlip or Caliph. Qlip with a P or Caliph with a PH. We're going to trace the roots of our power. In the above representation, we see demonstrated all four aspects of the divine or of God. God is G for generative, O for operative, and D for destructive. Any creative, generative, substantive, operative, or destructive effort in the cosmos, heaven and earth, is ruled by the divine feminine. Period, point blank. Our ancient forefathers had no problem with this. They understood how we got down, and they understood how things were arranged. They had a perfect understanding of the true nature of reality, both on heaven and in earth, and that was that the divine feminine was primary. It doesn't mean supreme. We did not have a concept when it came to this of supremacy. A lot of brothers get their feathers ruffled when you start to emphasize the divine feminine. because they think that you are making a statement that the feminine is somehow superior, which I don't have a problem with that. But the statement is not a statement of superiority or supremacy. It is a statement of primacy. What precedes first? What precedes first? There has to be a first in within the space-time continuum. So the divine feminine is always, from an energetic standpoint, viewed as terrible. And this terrible aspect of the divine feminine is like a skull and crossbones on a pesticide, or uh, a very powerful medicine, or a very power. It's just indicating the supreme power and the extreme power of this primal force. All right. This is Kali. And again, related to this word Qlippoth or Qlippoth, that sound, Kali. So it's talking about this aspect of the adverse tree or the root. That's that which is primary. Furthermore, we talked about Kundalini power last time. Kundalini is the power of the divine mother. Athena, Durga, Shekinah, and that is the reference, that is the hidden mother, or this Shekinah or this Shekinah is the hidden mother in the scriptures. It talks about the Shekinah glory in the scriptures. Again, Kali and Mahakali and Kali Ma, etc. It is a feminine fire. It is a feminine fire in nature, fire representing an energetic force that can emerge in us and give us the power of the gods. So in the Genesis narrative, when you look at Eve or Kava, she is the one that ate from what? The so-called forbidden or adverse tree. Are you all with me? It wasn't the accessible fruit, it was the inaccessible or hidden fruit. And what happened? Her eyes, all three of them, were open, and she became what? Like the gods. So we know now we've connected it. So that's why it says this Kundalini energy, this is what happened to the couple in the Garden of Eden. They ate from the adverse tree and became enlightened and ignited, activated this Kundalini power. This is what the serpent represented. All right. The group Earth, Wind, and Fire. Does anyone remember the song that was called Serpentine Fire that they did? Well, they were singing about Kundalini power. When I see your face like the morning sun, this is talking about Kundalini power. Go back and read the lyrics. And they're singing it as if they're singing to who? Not another man, but a woman. When I see your face in the morning sun, it ignites my energy, this Kundalini fire within me, serpentine fire. It is the thunderbolt of Zeus, of Indra. It is the power of Poseidon. It is the power of Vishnu. It is the power of Kali Ma. And you see her rising first. And the male aspect is lying dormant. The feminine aspect has always been, first of all, primary again and protective. She is protecting the Shiva, the male consort. And she will be the resurrector in this case. And again, not Jesus. It is the feminine aspect that has been hidden. The Kundalini power is resurrection power. It is restoring us back to our divinity. It is the power of turning what? The caterpillar into the butterfly. The power to turn Jesus into the Christ. And again, we must understand these things because we're not just going to be talking about this. We're going to be activating, accessing this power and activating. This is the goal. This is the focus of this course, not to just talk about it, but to be about it. It is the power of Kali Ma. Hazoth or Azoth is a tremendous power. It is not a toy. This symbol from alchemy represents the synthesis of the work of alchemy. It is Ish and Ishar united, two opposites united. Adam and Eve, male and female, united. So this is why in the middle figure representation, you see this union of what? Male and female. A tremendously powerful alchemical and magic formula. It is basic, the union of the male energy and the female energy. But again, the female energy is the igniter, is the primary source, is the initiator. The sexual act is the real consubstation of love. In the tremendous psychophysical reality of our nature, something is created when a man and woman unite sexually. And it does not mean always that a child is born. Every time a male and a female unite sexually, physically, something is created. This is why understanding intent in a relationship and being united first in intent and every time in intent when a male and female come together, you are dealing with cosmic power and potential. In those moments of supreme adoration, he and she are really only one androgynous being with powers to create like the gods. The Elohim are male and female, and Elohim meaning the mighty ones. Man and woman united sexually during the supreme ecstasy of love are really one terrifically divine. It should be Eloah, because Elohim means plural. In those moments of sexual union, we are really in the laboratorium, oratorium of holy alchemy. And again, it's not necessary, although we're talking about physical union, the beginning of that power is the union or the agreement in intent and purpose and will. That is the true holy matrimony. And again, I'm not talking in romantic terms. I'm talking in terms of energy and alchemy and cosmic science. I'm not talking about an infatuation or some misguided idea of love where two people come together. I'm talking about an agreement in consciousness on a cosmic level, on a vibratory level, on a level of frequency, according to science and not according to a feeling of fondness or infatuation in the heart. That's fine. That's all well and good. But what I'm speaking to is a union, an agreement that is divine, that happens on a cosmic level. And then the physical union acts as a conduit. It acts as the instrument of that energetic agreement. Marvin Gaye sang about it. When I get this feeling, I need sexual healing. This is, again, we can look at this in terms of romantic love, but this healing aspect of it is talking about something that is more cosmic, more alchemical. Azoth, Kundalini, serpentine fire is the power of God. And again, it is feminine in nature. It is the power of the apostles to heal the sick. It is power over nature, power over elements. When Moses parted the Red Sea, when Jesus walked on water, when he was raised from the dead in the allegory, it is because they each had that power of Azoth or Kundalini power. They were activated. They were illuminated, however you want to talk about it. They were fully activated. These individuals that we read about in the Bible, when you go to see the movie Black Panther, and you see them doing the superhuman of that is the power. They call it vibrantium. But that is that vibrantium represents melanin. This is why this movie is so powerful. But I'm going to talk about, once I see the movie, I'm going to talk about a little reverse ritual that they did in it, and it had to do with the character Killmonger. Some of you all have already guessed what the ritual is. So all those people around the world who are proclaiming that they are awakening Kundalini, if they do not have those powers, then they are liars. It is as simple as that. Azoth Kundalini gives power over nature in our ancient systems and in our ancient cultures. You did not stand before the people and open your mouth as a leader unless you could demonstrate power over nature. You did not sit on a throne as a king or a queen, as a prince or a princess, and you could not demonstrate the power that you are talking about. We are getting back to that. We are moving back to that. This reversal is taking place. And we must reverse this aspect of a patriarchal power and understand this divine feminine energy, this power that is in ascendance now. She is called indescribable, the mystery of the great goddess Kali. And we're not talking again about a goddess, we're talking about an energy. May be impossible to describe or imagine. Any form cannot contain all the depth of its sense. It is difficult to explain her symbolism rationally. It must be understood intuitively. It must be understood divinely. It must be understood on a cosmic level, not intellectually. You have to feel what it is that I'm speaking about. Various Shakta Hindu cosmologies, as well as Shakta tantric beliefs, worship her as the ultimate reality, or Brahman. Now, this term Brahman, if we put an A on the end of Brahman, what do we get? Brahman. So again, we see that Brahman was supposed to be what? The father of a faith, the father of the major religions. He's recognized by what? The Muslim religion, Islam. He's recognized by the Christian and Jewish religion, the big three. But this is talking about not a male. And when we get into the story of Abraham, we're going to understand that the blessing was Sarah. All right. And Sarah represents melanin. I'm going to show you that. It is an actual SARA. Look it up. Small s, small r, small s, small a, small r, large A, written like this. Look it up. It's talking about melanin. So the story of Abraham and Sarah is actually the story of the divine feminine. But again, it is hidden. It is hidden. So Kali Ma is the Brahman or the Abrahman. We'll see this later. Ramprasad concedes that ordinary mortals could be bedazzled by these stark truths. In other words, if you stay in your intellect, if you stay in left brain thinking, you will never be able to comprehend this. You won't be able to acknowledge it, and you definitely won't be able to access the power of it. It is not to be found by conventional appraisal of her physical appearance, but at the same time, her form is a meditative symbol, useful for realizing the nature of reality. And we briefly went over it. How the feminine is protective, how it is resurrected, how it is primary. But the symbol can be interpreted in different levels, from the highest to the gross. Besides, in our times of Kali Yuga, and again, we'll be going over this eschatological period of Kali Yuga. This is the end of a period. We'll be going over the prophetic framework of all of this in subsequent classes. Many symbolic aspects have been misinterpreted. Therefore, many are frightened by the appearance without seeing the deeper meaning. But if you view Kali through the metaphysical lens, then there is nothing that can terrify, unless you are an enemy. unless you are the one that she is coming for. And melanated people are, by and large, pretty safe. The name Kali means the black one. Of course, see, we're talking about melanin, and is also derived from the Sanskrit word for Kala, which means black. The time as means black. The time as destroyer of all things. Kali is represented as the consort of Lord Shiva, and that is the one that is laying prostrate under her, on whose body she is often seen standing. Since Shiva is called Kala or Mahakala, the eternal time, thus her name is the feminine form of the name Kala. Kali, the cause of time, again, causative, the initiator, the cause of time, or he or she who is beyond time. So, again, this is why I chose to use to represent Jesus, and I'll get it, the feminine. And again, this is the existence of the divine feminine outside of the scarlet and outside of the purple. In this dark, black, hidden realm. What is knowable to us is the tree in the upright position. And when we were restricted to space-time during this other age, this aspect of our nature was hidden from us. And again, it was vilified. But Kali Ma represents the full aspect that is outside of space-time, which is the cosmic aspect of our being. She is also the one that activates consciousness to perception. All right? Also activates from what? Caterpillar to butterfly. And also allows consciousness to proceed. So once we have activated Kundalini, we have a true understanding and a true perception of the true and genuine and accurate nature of reality. She is the mother of all as well as the destroyer. Like a fearless warrior, alone amidst all, she is the queen of the battlefield, sword in hand, ghastly trophies all around her. The destructive aspect of divine Shakti can release the universe in general and us in particular from the clutches of evil. She is a deliverer. That aspect, and understand this is nothing that is outside of yourself. That is the Savior within. That is the Resurrector within. That is the Christ within. That is the divine power within. As the power of time, Kali, and we know that that name, again, is associated with time. Everybody's heard of a calendar, right? Liberates through the disintegration and the destruction of illusion or the simulated reality that we've all become accustomed to. This destructive power clears way for new life. She destroys ignorance in order to bestow knowledge. Kali embodies all fear and yet is beyond it. After encountering her, there is nothing to clinging through fear. She is black or deep blue or the color of deepest night. The blackness of Kali represents the unknown before creation. And again, this is the unknown aspect of us before what? Emanation into the created realms, when nothing material existed, or we were outside the realm of material existence. This primordial state was dark, as Kali, as is the womb, dark and mysterious. Again, talking about the womb or the yoni or the vagina of the feminine. Black is not a color, but embodies all colors. As with the Mahanirvana Tantra, just as all colors disappear in black, so all names and forms disappear in her. So when it's talking about names and forms, it is talking about an aspect of the ego that is destroyed. When you see the heads, the severed heads, as a that she wears as a garland around her neck, the severed heads represent her destroying her power to destroy ego, and the ego is the primary aspect of each of us that causes illusion and misperception. Very, very powerful symbol that we're seeing in Kali. Her dark color is the ultimate reality, and the ultimate reality is melanin, the God or divine particle, in which all distinctions disappear. Kali sees every moment through the third eye, the eye of non-dual wisdom. That is, she is the power that enables one to see with singularity or holistically. The Bible refers to this non-dual wisdom or ability as knowledge. That is the word da'ath. We get the word death from the word da'ath. The knowledge of good and evil. That is the tree that the woman was not supposed to eat from. But the serpent wisdom told her that she would not die from eating from that tree, but what? Her eyes would be open and she would be as the God. She would reach her divine potential, knowing good and evil, having the understanding of good and evil. That good and evil, listen, is the fundamental power of joining or unifying opposites. Unifying opposites. It has nothing to do with morality like that. It is the divine union of opposites, male and female. Those are the most primary polarities in the universe. Masculine and feminine. It was the knowledge imparted to Adam and Kava, Adam and Eve, by the wise serpent. Again, so that their eyes shall be opened. And what? Ye shall be as the gods. You shall reach your divine aspect, reconnect with your divine aspect, knowing the power of good and evil. Yeshua, Jesus, also stated, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, that means whole, holistic, functional, healthy, restored, thy whole body shall be full of light. Matthew 6:22. Everybody is aware of Michael Jordan, arguably one of the greatest basketball players ever. Definitely changed the game. And you see in physical form him manifesting the divine feminine energy of Kali or Qlippoth. Very, very powerful. When this feminine energy is manifested in the male, it elevates you on a physical level. Now, I'm not saying at all that Michael Jordan was conscious of this at all. Doesn't have to be. All he has to do is connect with it. You don't have to be conscious of the fact that you're sticking a fork into an outlet. All you have to do is do it, and that power will be made manifest, whether you're consciously aware of what you're doing or not. Same way if you stick a plug in there and the device that you want to power is on in the on position, it will come on. It will demonstrate the power and manifest the power of electricity. And so here it is, Michael Jordan. People wonder why he stuck his tongue out all the time, why he chose the colors white, red, and black to play in. It is something that was happening on an unconscious level. Oh, the delightful outstretched tongue of Kali distinguishes her from all other gods and goddesses. We're talking about energy here of the Hindu pantheon. In Devi Mahatmya, Kali unfurls her tongue in the role as what? The ultimate destroyer. And when Michael unfolded his tongue like this, he was the ultimate destroyer on that basketball court. He is known for that, being merciless to his opponents. And when you saw that tongue come out, someone was getting destroyed. The ultimate deliverer, called upon to salvage a situation that seems hopelessly out of control. That's exactly what Michael Jordan did. He was a destroyer and he was a deliverer. Chicago basketball became relevant again when he assumed his role. She is summoned by Durga herself to destroy the demon Raktabija, whose name means blood seed. Blood seed. Blood seed. When this divine energy manifests, see, the Caucasoid is deathly afraid of the resurrection of this energy, because they are the blood seed, the created blood seed. Their reign is going to end. It is ending. It has ended. And they know it. This divine feminine energy is on the rise. It's on the ascension. It is turning over. It is turning over. From what was in this position to what is in this position. The divine feminine was made the tail, but it is returning to its position. Again, we We have to recognize this. If we want to manifest this power, we have to align ourselves with it. Blood represents life physically and spiritually, humanity. On one level, it represents the overwhelming power of desire, thirst of life, and reproduction. Ultimately, the entire earth has been filled with these seeds, and we know who filled the world with these seeds. Therefore, she shows her red tongue in order to make all existence free. Certainly, blood has a sacred and sacrificial meaning in every culture and religion. It's symbol of the divine life manifested on the lower planes or the lower nature, and at the same time a symbol of the cleansing of one's own lower mind and higher consciousness. This is why you see in the root chakra is what? Red. Red. All right. She is Shabda Brahman. Shabda Brahman. And we see the name Abraham in this. Shabda Brahman, the source of creation, as Abraham was the supposedly uh, the human source or the progenitor of what? The nation of Israel or the children of Israel or the Hebrew nation. So the 50 skulls, and we'll get into this number 50 a little bit later, the 50 skulls represent the 50 letters of the Sanskrit alphabet or alphabet, the origin of sound. Also, her garland bespeaks death in life and life in death, each embodying and following the other in endless cycles. The severed heads represent slain human egos that have sought to usurp the divine mind. So the severed heads, symbolically or allegorically, are the dying caterpillars. All right, the dying caterpillars that must die in order for what? The butterfly or the Christ consciousness or the divine mind or the divine aspect of what? Emerge. She blesses devotees by cutting us free from the cycle of karma and takes a garland of the physical manifestation to herself. So that is Kali, which is another symbol within one culture of the Qlippoth. Qlippoth. Moving on, the Qlippoth acknowledging, accessing, and activating the divine magical powers of the adverse tree. Everything begins with a proper understanding. Even the Bible says, in all you're getting, get an understanding, get an understanding of what it is that you are accessing, that you are trying to activate. A caliph, again, concentrating on these first three letters and how the first four letters and how they sound. Caliph means a successor. This power that we are accessing, we have the ability to access it because we are heirs to it. We are divine heirs to it. So this aspect of caliph or successor, khalifa in Arabic, speaks to the fact that this is genetic. It is genetically transferred to us. We have a genetic right to this power. It is inherent in all melanated beings with neuromelanin, not just pheomelanin, I'm sorry, not just eumelanin, but the deep tissue phenomena of neuromelanin. A caliphate refers to the dominion of the caliph, and the dominion is endless. It is the entire known universe. It is multidimensional. Calafia is a fictional warrior queen who ruled over a kingdom of black women. If you saw, again, Black Panther, the baddest individuals in there were the warrior queens. All right. Uh, uh, People are saying that they are really impressed. But again, this Calafia is an archetype of the divine feminine, and you see her represented here. She is a fictional warrior queen who ruled over a kingdom of black women living in the mythical island of California. The character of Queen Calafia was created by Spanish writer Garcia Rodriguez de Montalvo, who first introduced her in his popular novel entitled Las Sergas de Esplandia, The Adventures of Esplandia, written around 1500. The name of Calafia was likely formed from the Arabic word Khalifa. And again, we've explicated that definition in the above definition of the word Caliph, a religious state leader, which is known as a Caliph in English and Khalifa in Spanish. Similarly, the name Califia is monarchy. Now, Calafia is a fictional warrior queen who ruled over a kingdom of black women. This is the legend of the Amazons. And we just saw another Marvel uh, movie come out that was called Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is Calafia. And if you understand the Marvel legend, she is a princess from uh, the tribe of Amazons. So again, nice little counter ritual with the recent release of the movie Wonder Woman, where they've whitewashed again the divine feminine. California likely originated from the same root, fabricated by the author to remind the 16th century Spanish reader of the Reconquista, a centuries-long fight between Christians and Muslims, which had recently concluded in Spain. The character of Calafia is used by Montalvo to portray the superiority of chivalry, in which the attractive virgin queen is conquered. So again, another ritual of the what? Divine feminine being conquered and converted to Christian beliefs and married off. I mean, this couldn't be a more accurate rendition, fictional or allegorical, of what happened to the melanated sisters, especially in the West. Calafia is called Califia. And again, related to this word Qlippoth, all right? has been depicted as the spirit of California, the energetic aspect of California. This symbol also is in New York Harbor, masquerading as Lady Liberty, which, when you read the history, is a black woman. Originally, the French sculptor designed it to be a black woman. What? Breaking free of her chains. And of course, America rejected that because they know that their power and their existence is based upon the sublimation, the continual sublimation of the divine feminine in both the physical and the cosmic realm. So, was depicted as the spirit of California and has been the subject of modern day sculpture. Statue of Liberty, already said that. Paintings, stories, and films. Films, already said it, Wonder Woman. She often figures in the myth of California's origin, symbolizing an untamed and bountiful land prior to what? Europeans taking the land by force. As above, so below. This next session, as we begin to close, the Qlippoth, 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 the adverse tree. Tracing this thing again through history. Now, we said that the adverse tree in previous times was depicted what? Below the ground, right? Hidden beneath the soil, in the heart of the earth. This is the next level of vilification of the divine feminine. Hel, the Old Norse, Hel for hidden, is a giantess. So the Amazons were giant women, right? Very tall, statuesque women in the tale. Is a giantess and or goddess who rules over the identically named Hel, the underworld. The underworld. Are you all seeing how this depiction is coming together? Where many of the dead dwell. Her name's meaning of hidden surely has to do with what? The underworld. And the dead being hidden or buried beneath the ground. According to the 13th century Icelandic scholar Snorri Sturluson, Hel is the daughter of Loki and the giantess Angrboda, Old Norse Angrboda, anguish boding. Now, she is her activation is going to be anguish boding for the powers that be. So there was no understand that there was no negative connotation of this word Hel. It just meant hidden, buried beneath the ground. If you were going to hail potatoes, that means you dug a hole and put the potatoes in the ground. Didn't have anything to do with any negative spirits or evil spirits or unclean spirits or punishment. Hel is generally presented as being rather greedy, harsh, and cruel, or at least indifferent to the concerns of both the living and the dead. That harshness, again, as we saw in Kali, was for anything. She was aggressive. This energy is aggressive for anything that is preventing you, like the ego, from what? Transitioning or accessing or reconnecting with your divine aspect. Again, this is something that is inside all of us. This divine feminine is inside all of us. Hell is generally represented. We read that. Snorri describes her appearance, listen, as being half black and half white, with a perpetual grim and fierce expression on her face. Half black and half white. That is what is standing in the New York harbor. It is a black woman disguised as a white woman. That is the Statue of Liberty. So hell just refers to the underworld, that which is what? Concealed or hidden or covered. The English word may be a part, again, of the Old Norse mythical Hel. Halaja, one who covers up or hides something or is hidden. And it's connected with this word Nephilim. Nephilim, which in the Bible, in Hebrew, is translated as giants. But Nephilim is connected to the word fall, nephal, meaning to fall. This divine feminine energy fell and is in the position now of being restored to its primary place. Nephilim, again in Hebrew, meaning to fall prostrate, to prostrate oneself before. And that is exactly what the divine feminine did in order for this alchemical process to take place. It was voluntary, it was prescient, it was done with divine knowledge of forethought. But again, we are in the period, in the age of a reversal. This was planned. It wasn't with the intent. The fall or the voluntary surrender of the power was not to be permanent. By virtue of the fact that we are having this class, that you are on this class, and that we are talking about the divine feminine and clarifying it and decoding it, and that you are hearing this, and many of you are understanding this and feeling this, is evidence of the fact of the return of this primordial, fundamental, elemental power. So we're going to end right here, and we're going to begin the next class with this understanding of hell as being the core or the essence. We're going to further tie it to melanin as being the core or the element of all things. And we will have a greater understanding. And again, here we're going to connect it to the Statue of Liberty and the first Statue of Liberty and the other ancient symbols that represent this cosmic power that resides in us all. It is there, it is innate, it is waiting for us to activate, but we must have an accurate understanding of what it is. All right? So we're going to end right here, and I'll open it up for questions and comments.